On the day the white moonlight returned, my husband tossed me a check. 1 million, for the divorce. In my past life, I thought he was insulting me, so I tore up the check and left with nothing. This time, I held up 5 fingers. 1 billion. A penny less would be disrespectful to true love. Evan's face darkened. Claire, don't get too greedy. I immediately said to Serena, who was standing next to him, Serena, this man is not worth it. He can't even spare 1 billion. He must think you aren't worth that price. Serena shot me a glare and resentfully turned her gaze to Evan. Evan, who cared about his pride, glared at me and said fiercely. Fine, 1 billion, but I'll only divorce after the company secures the project. During this time, you must not do anything that could harm my reputation. I vaguely remember that in my past life, there was a project directly tied to the group's future development, which Evan took quite seriously. I nodded to show my understanding and spread my 5 fingers open again. Another 100 million on top of that. A vein twitched on Evan's forehead. Claire, do you even have any shame left? Serena joined in. Claire, one should know their place. Are you really worth that much? I exclaimed in surprise, what? Serena means the title of Mrs. Evan isn't worth 200 million? As for face, did Evan and Serena care about face when they were being all lovey-dovey and intimate? The two of them turned pale with anger, their eyes smoldering with rage. Oh, come on, don't be shy. I get it, dry wood meeting a fierce fire. Don't worry, once the money is settled, I'll immediately act as your love bodyguard. Evan was furious. Claire, where's your backbone? For money, are you really going to give up your personal dignity? I misjudged you from the start. I thought you had a proud and unyielding spirit, that you were different from those women who only wanted my money. But it turns out, you're cut from the same cloth. Evan and I come from vastly different family backgrounds. Everyone says I'm not worthy, that I'm a scheming gold digger who's only after his money. To prove my pride and maintain my dignity, aside from essential living expenses, I resolutely refused to take a single cent from Evan and never asked for luxury items. I was married to a CEO, yet I was still stuck in a job that paid a meager 3,000 yuan a month. Looking back now, I realize I was the biggest fool in the world. I scratch my ear, Evan, it'll be in your account by tomorrow, not a cent short. As I say this, I pull a box of Huiyuan Shenbao tablets out of my bag and hand it to Serena. Serena, he'll be better, and so will you. It's hilarious, a young CEO needing kidney supplements, who would want that? Me, an orphan with no background, was able to marry Evan all thanks to my striking resemblance to Serena. But I was unaware, only thinking it was Cinderella's true love finally arriving. Until Serena returned from abroad and stormed into my home, slapped me across the face, stepped on my fingers, and said, "You fake, how dare you stand beside Evan?" Only then did I realize I had been someone else's stand-in for 3 years. 3 years ago, Serena refused to marry and ran off abroad in a fit of anger with Evan. Evan, enraged, found me to marry as a stand-in, all just to spite Serena. They were playing a game of willful defiance, but I invested my true heart. I refused to get a divorce and tried every way to save our marriage, lowering myself in various ways and begging Evan, in light of our 3-year bond, not to divorce, not to abandon me. Who knew he would toss me a check and say, after all we've shared as husband and wife, don't make things too difficult for me. With your current salary, it would take you more than 30 years without eating or drinking to save up 1 million. I've been very good to you. I refused to accept it, crying that he was insulting my integrity and the love I had for him. Serena rolled her eyes. She's obviously after Evan's money, why pretend to be innocent? With red, tear-filled eyes, I said to Evan, "Evan, I truly love you. I'll prove it to you." I tore up the check and left with nothing. To survive, I worked a day job and delivered food at night. Finally, over a takeout order with an extra 5 yuan delivery fee, I got into an accident due to drowsy driving and was instantly hit and thrown by a large truck. After death, my spirit drifted to Evan's side. I wanted to see if Evan would feel guilty, remorseful, and shed tears for me upon learning the cause of my death, After all, I was such a pure and kind-hearted soul, not coveting his money, only loving him for who he was. Unfortunately, I had thought too much. My death only earned me 10 seconds of his pause. And then he closed his phone and took Serena to the evening banquet. I was so angry that my soul died a second time. Opening my eyes again, I found myself reborn back to the day he asked for a divorce. Fine, if you don't treasure this pure and innocent daisy, I'll show you how greedy for money I can be. The next morning, I received a notification about the deposit. But when I saw the amount, my face immediately fell. It was only 5 million. I called Evan and asked him what he meant by this. Evan said, "What if you don't keep your word, take the money, and then ruin my reputation?" Claire, this project is critical. I fulfilled your request, so I hope you can understand my concerns, alright? Alright, I understand. Okay, then write me an IOU with the repayment date clearly stated. If you're late, you'll owe interest at the bank loan rate. There was silence on the other end, and after a long pause, Evan finally said, "Claire, since when did we become so distant? You used to call me Evan." "Fine, Evan. Write me an IOU with the repayment date clearly stated. If you're late, you'll owe interest at the bank loan rate." The breathing on the other end grew noticeably quicker, and finally, Evan gritted his teeth. "Claire, don't go too far." Oh my, is Evan trying to weasel out of it? By the way, I recorded our conversation yesterday. Actually, marital infidelity isn't such a big deal. It's just that if word gets out that Evan needs kidney supplements at such a young age, well, that would be quite something. Evan angrily snapped, "Shut up. I'll give you the IOU later." He hung up the phone in a huff. Ah, I'm thrilled. How come I didn't notice what a cunning man he was in my past life? True enough, what kind of decent man would marry a substitute? Trying to play the emotional card to cheat me out of my money, dream on. After waiting 3 days, the IOU still hadn't arrived. I couldn't wait any longer and went straight to the company to find him. What bad luck, Serena was in his office too. Her white shirt had 3 buttons undone, and she was sitting on the desk, her arms wrapped around Evan's neck. Pushing the door open, honestly, I felt even more awkward. Ah, that door wasn't locked, so I came right in. "Alright, I'll come back when you're done." "Don't rush, take your time, I can wait." I quickly backed out and considerately closed the door for them. 5 minutes later, Serena stormed out with a heavy air of resentment, shooting me a sharp glare and warning in a low voice. "Claire, Evan is mine. You can't take him back." I immediately grabbed her and started crying. "Serena, you've got it all wrong." I wanted to leave, but Evan wouldn't let me. I'm scared too. What if Evan changes his mind and won't divorce me? "Serena, please, I'm begging you, please talk to him and let me take the money and go." Crying as I spoke, I took the chance to wipe my runny nose on her expensive fur coat. Serena's face turned pale with anger. You, get out of here." "Fine, I'll leave, as long as I've disgusted her. I've figured it out, instead of seeking revenge and fighting her, I'd rather go crazy and mess her up." In the office, Evan looked terrible, with dark circles under his eyes. I couldn't help but remind him, "Evan, you really should take your kidney-boosting pills on time." Evan's expression grew even darker, his eyes flashing with irritation. "What are you doing here at the company?" "Looking to have a written pledge from you." "Claire, don't push people too far. Do you really think I'd run away?" I said earnestly. "Evan, I wasn't worried originally, but now looking at you like this, sigh, the number of that thing in a man's life is limited, Evan. You need to be more moderate." Evan slammed the table in anger. "Get out." I pointed to the ground, "Like a ball?" "Okay." I rolled to the door clutching my head, then rolled back, grinning as I said, "Evan, are you satisfied? If you're satisfied, please write out the IOU, thank you. If you're not, I'll go roll around a few more times outside. No pain, no gain." As I walked out of the company building, looking at the IOU in my hand, I felt that all the suffering was worth it. This madness method is truly wonderful. Half a month later, at the company's 10th anniversary celebration, Evan asked me to accompany him. I agreed readily. All right. But the small expenses for the evening gown, shoes, jewelry, and things like facial and foot treatments for the banquet, those should be covered by Evan. They count as normal work-related expenses. In my past life, I was so afraid of being called materialistic that I never allowed myself to dress up properly. Every time I accompanied him to an event, I just aimed not to make a mistake, never to shine. Now it's different. Since we're about to get divorced anyway. If someone's footing the bill, I'll buy what I need and enjoy what I can while I still have the chance. But it's no fun to enjoy things alone, so I called up my best friend, Jovi. My Jovi, the person I wronged the most in my past life. Jovi is also an orphan. We grew up together in an orphanage and were each other's closest family in this world. When she learned I wanted a divorce, Jovi did everything she could to help me, even hiring a private detective to gather evidence of Evan's marital infidelity, hoping to secure as many benefits for me as possible. But I handed that evidence over to Evan instead. All just to prove to Evan that I loved him, that even with evidence, I couldn't bear to ruin him. Secretly, I hoped Evan would be shocked, moved, and suddenly come to his senses, begging to get back together with me, staging the heart-wrenching chase and cremation drama of a man desperately trying to win back his ex. Great, he did chase me, with a stick, trying to beat me out of the house. As a result, Jovi became a target of Evan's resentment and lost her job. Jovi called me stupid, called me a hopeless romantic, and said I deserved to be dumped by Evan. Furious, I yelled at her, asking, "What's wrong with truly loving someone?" We parted on bad terms, and we never spoke again until I died. But when I got into the accident, it was Jovi who first showed up to collect my body, cremate me, and arrange my burial. That day, I was right beside her, listening as she burned paper offerings and cried while scolding me for being lovesick. By the end, she was sobbing uncontrollably, choking out between tears, "Claire, come back, I promise I'll never scold you again." Later, to avenge me, Jovi exposed online that Evan had cheated on his wife with Serena, fiercely criticizing Serena, who aimed to enter the entertainment industry, as a homewrecker. She also filed a real name report against the Forthright Group for tax evasion, causing the company's stock to plummet. Evan developed a hatred for Jovi and hired people to kidnap her to a remote area, destroying her innocence. With no one to turn to, Jovi was in unbearable pain, so she ran over Evan and Serena with a car, then turned herself in and went to prison. Jovi, it's all my fault. Don't worry, this time I won't let you down. When she found out that I planned to use Evan's money to take her shopping, Jovi was so scared that she wanted to take me to see a master to see if I had been possessed. In the past, I had to save for 2 months' salary just to buy Jovi a gold bracelet worth a few thousand as a birthday gift. Looking at the supplemental card in my hand, I sighed with emotion. When I was young and naive before, but now I've come to understand. Jovi hugged me, crying tears of joy. I finally have a rich bestie. Spend it. That scumbag used you as a substitute. My Claire's youth is far more precious than the measly money in his pocket. That afternoon, we treated money like dirt. Smash whatever looked good, smash whatever felt comfortable, what a rush. But I didn't expect to run into Serena. Seeing Jovi and me carrying loads of bags, Serena looked at us with disdain and said, "As expected, you only went after Evan for his money in the first place. Gold digger, not just greedy for wealth, but also playing the charity card. Claire, Evan doesn't earn money easily. Did he agree to let you spend his money on buying stuff for random stray cats and dogs? What? Are you really treating Evan like a cash cow and a fool? Go on, return all that stuff for me." Jovi snapped at her. "Oh, so the lawful wife isn't qualified? Who is then? You, the mistress? Let me see what you bought." With that, Jovi reached for the bag in Serena's hand, and a black card fell out, with Evan's signature on the back. "Wow, a diamond watch, worth over $1 million. Claire, call the police. This was bought with your marital assets." Furious, Serena pushed Jovi away. "Who's the mistress?" "The one who isn't loved is the mistress." Evan has already cleared things up with her. What right does she have to spend Evan's money? Jovi still wanted to argue with her. I pulled Jovi aside and, without hesitation, slapped myself across the face, then knelt on the ground and burst into tears. Serena, I was wrong. As a wife, how could I spend my husband's money? My husband's money should all be reserved for Serena to spend. I'm guilty, I don't deserve to live, I'll just go and die. With one loud cry, I immediately drew the attention of everyone around us. Jovi, true to her role as my best friend, was momentarily stunned but quickly resumed her acting. There's no justice. A wife spending her husband's money actually gets scolded by the mistress. Is this the collapse of morality or the distortion of human nature? The onlookers quickly indulged in the drama, and some even took out their phones to record. It's hilarious. Evan only said that his reputation couldn't be tarnished, but he never said Serena's couldn't. Anyway, with both of us barefaced and in athletic wear, and a touch of makeup tomorrow, who'd recognize us? But Serena is different, with her refined outfit, she could be easily spotted. Sure enough, Serena was so frightened that she immediately picked up the card and fled, not even noticing a few handbags she dropped along the way. I dashed over to pick them up, brand new, genuine goods, very easy to resell. Turning around, I saw Jovi still staring at me in confusion. Oops. Did I scare Jovi by acting crazy? I won't act crazy anymore. Jovi snapped back to reality, shaking her head vigorously, eyes sparkling. No, Claire. I absolutely loved the way you acted crazy. Just as I expected, Evan called in the evening to hold me accountable, blaming me for making a scene at the mall. I took a picture of myself lying in the hospital bed and sent it to him, saying weakly and aggrievedly, Evan, in all conscience, have I ever asked you for a single luxury item in our 3 years of marriage? Have I ever bought a single Chanel? Today, Serena just came at me, calling me a gold digger, saying I'm only after your money. I don't want to live anymore, I can't go on. Heaven knows, it's you I love. I've had a shock, so I might not be able to leave the hospital for a while. Evan sounded a bit irritable. What about the anniversary celebration? I coughed a few times and spoke with difficulty. Surely Evan doesn't expect me to attend while I'm sick. What if I say something crazy while delirious? Maybe have Serena go instead. Serena is prettier and more composed than me, cough. Don't worry about what others think, true love always wins. After saying that, I was about to hang up. I'll add another 5 million, Evan said through gritted teeth. Accompany me to the anniversary celebration, and we'll divorce as soon as the project is finalized. I perked up immediately. So is that 5 million paid up front? You know the account number, right? Mark it as a gift. Claire, you're ruthless. A few minutes later, 5 million was deposited into my bank account. I posted a moment on social media, even illness can't stop my passion for work. Before I knew it, the anniversary celebration had arrived. As I slowly descended the stairs in a custom-made gown, I noticed Evan's gaze freeze for a moment. Sure enough, men are all creatures driven by their primal instincts. By now, I had moved out of his villa and was living with Jovi. Counting the days, we hadn't seen each other for over half a month. In my past life, I was only busy brewing all kinds of soup for him and never properly took care of myself. If I truly dressed up, as Jovi said, my curvy figure is far superior to Serena's flat one. I walked onto the stage holding Evan's hand, listening to him speak with a smile on my face, watching him gaze at me affectionately, deeply playing the role of a devoted husband. For a moment, I remembered the happy times we shared when we first started dating. Back then, he would cook porridge for me when I had gastroenteritis. He would spend an entire afternoon doing crafts with me on my birthday. He would also blush and say I love you to me at New Year's. My relationship with him was never about money. That's precisely why I was convinced he treated me sincerely, not just as a rich boy's fling. Unfortunately, all those wonderful moments were just a moon reflected in the water. His true moon was in the sky. It doesn't matter. He can look up at his moon, while I keep my head down and focus on making my money. The speech concluded, and everyone mingled freely. Evan pulled me into a small room. Claire, come home tonight. After 3 years of marriage, some understanding inevitably develops between us. Seeing him so impatient, could it be that Serena isn't enough for him? Does Evan still want me? Evan nodded with a serious expression. Fine, 5 million for one night. Evan trembled with anger. Claire, have you truly lost all shame? 5 million for one night, who do you think you are? We are husband and wife, it's only right. That statement made my blood pressure skyrocket. Evan, you know as well as I do, why should a wife unconditionally and freely satisfy all your needs? What have you given me? A dowry? A car? A house? You've given me none of that. You've only given me a marriage certificate that could become void at any moment. Come to think of it, what kind of wife am I anyway? Evan's face turned ashen with anger, and he uttered 3 consecutive fine. Claire, if it weren't for your resemblance to Serena, do you think I'd care for a woman like you? I gave you the chance, it's your fault for not cherishing it. You'll never get to touch me again in this lifetime. Wow, I really did burn some high incense then. I piously clasped my hands together. Finally, I don't have to serve men who need kidney tonics anymore. Evan lost his composure, turning dark-faced with rage and storming off. After dealing with some of the ladies, I found a quiet corner by the pool to relax. Suddenly, a shawl fell onto me. I turned my head and saw a handsome face coming into view. Sister, be careful not to catch a cold. Huh, I smell a conspiracy. Sure enough, after adding me on WeChat, this guy named Jaden started messaging me every now and then. He didn't say much, mostly just good morning and good night. Occasionally, he'd send a photo of his outfit and ask for my opinion. But he really loved posting on his social media feed, like a picture of airplane contrails with the caption, "I wonder what sister is doing right now." Or another one, a shot of a whole garden of roses, captioned, "Even a garden full of beauty pales in comparison to sister's glance over her shoulder." Or maybe, a hazy moon photo with the caption, "If I could enjoy the moonlight with my sister, I'd be so overjoyed that I'd turn into a silly little fool." Finally, on my birthday, he called me and cautiously asked if he could take me out for a meal. The request felt rather abrupt, out of character for his shy, reserved demeanor. But I agreed. The dinner was arranged at a garden club. The sun is warm, he's wearing a white shirt, a light breeze ruffles the hair on his forehead as he stands in the sunlight, waving to me with a smile. This inexplicably reminds me of Evan from back then. "Happy birthday, sis." He hands me a bouquet of flowers. I'm a bit surprised. "How did you know today's my birthday?" He smiled mysteriously, "Because you are in my heart." I smiled without saying a word and took the flowers from him. His warm fingertips lightly brushed the back of my hand. Seeing that I didn't resist, he grew bolder and poured 2 glasses of red wine. "May you stay forever young, healthy, and happy." I took the red wine, swirling the glass, and chuckled self-deprecatingly. I never imagined anyone would still remember my birthday. "Sister, are you unhappy?" he said with a pained expression. "Can you tell me about it? I don't like to see you sad." I hesitated, then sighed softly. A marriage within a wealthy family, it's not something that can be explained in just a few words." He fell silent for a moment, then suddenly flashed a big smile. "Sister, it's okay, Jaden is here with you." Jaden knows, being the CEO's wife may seem glamorous, but it's actually quite difficult. At the banquet that day, when I saw how tired your shoulders looked, I couldn't help but want to shield you from the storm and protect you. I know this is unreasonable, and I know I can't compare to Evan. I don't ask for recognition, and I don't dare hope for permanence. I just want to stay by your side, be your loyal companion, and make you happy. My gaze grew intense. "Shield me from the storm, really?" He raised 3 fingers. "I swear, it's as true as truth itself." "Then how about you transfer me 1 million first? I'm quite frugal, 1 million a month would be enough." Jaden, with his bright smile, suddenly had cracks appear on his face as if struck by lightning. Sister, why must you hurt my heart like this? I don't have $1 million, but I have a heart that loves my sister and would fight for her. But just because I don't have it now doesn't mean I won't in the future. I will prove to my sister that I can support you. Will I have the right to call you Claire then? Dear sister, let's toast to our future, wish me luck. Setting down my glass, I broke down in tears, covering my face. Jaden, I'm just too touched. Sorry for losing my composure, could you turn away for a moment? He stepped closer, my shoulder is here for you to lean on, sister. I shook my head, no, please leave me a little dignity. I never imagined that I could find true love in this lifetime. Let me cry for a moment, just 1 minute, please. Unable to resist my plea, Jaden turned his back. A minute later, I asked him to turn around and, with tears in the corners of my eyes, raised my glass. Jaden, to our wonderful tomorrow, cheers. Seeing me drink, Jaden's eyes lit up, that look strikingly similar to how I look at piles of money. With a glass of wine downed, I swayed dizzily and leaned to the side. Jaden quickly caught me, whispering in my ear, feeling dizzy, sis? There's a bed inside, want me to help you rest for a bit? Though his tone sounded like a question, his movements showed no hesitation at all. After throwing me onto the bed, he directly pulled out a camera from the closet and aimed it at me. I didn't panic at all and lay on the bed, saying nonchalantly, Jaden, you're playing quite wild, huh? Aren't you scared, sis? Scared of what? I said, propping my head up. Since I'm already here, that kind of thing can't be avoided, can it? You'd better take good care of me. I'm not sure if you're up to the task. Jaden was thrown into disarray. Aren't you afraid Evan will find out? Even if he finds out, so what? He's not good enough, and I can't just find someone else? You know how it is with wealthy couples. Alright, Jaden, quit pretending. Don't you just want my body and my money? Don't worry, I could use someone around. Work hard, and if you do well, I'll reward you. But looking at your skinny, weak appearance, you're probably not worth much. 500 a night, how about it? Take off your clothes, let me check first to see if you're worth 500. Jaden's face visibly turned worse. Finally, when I questioned whether he was worth 500, he got angry. Big sister, you're really too much. My starting price for going into business is 100,000. For this deal, Evan gave me 1 million, and you actually thought 500 would do? Dream on. What? I exclaimed in shock. Evan actually gave you 1 million? Is he stupid? Are you even worth 1 million? I don't believe it. That's absolutely impossible. Evan wouldn't have such poor judgment. You must be lying. You're not worth that much, you're just boasting. Who's boasting? I'll show you the transfer record Evan sent me, humph. Jaden shoved his phone right in front of me, emotions running high. Open your eyes wide and see clearly. I'm worth every penny of 1 million. My God, Evan actually gave you 1 million. What on earth did he give you so much for? Of course, it's to have me lead you astray, to make you cheat within your marriage. Jaden suddenly covered his mouth, looking panicked. You weren't drugged? How can you still trap me with your questions? I chuckled sweetly, of course, it's because you're foolish. Did he really think his little trick, pouring wine behind my back and slipping that hidden powder from his sleeve into the drink, could fool me? Did he really think throwing me a birthday party would move me? How laughable. Now that I'm no longer a hopeless romantic or a self-sacrificing saint, I can only suspect he must have ulterior motives. I dropped the cup as a signal. The next second, Jovi burst in, holding a beer bottle. Jaden was tied to the chair by Jovi and me. Under Jovi's warning of a headshot, he confessed the whole story. Sure enough, as I had suspected, he was sent by Evan to lead me into making a mistake, so that after the partnership was finalized, they could accuse me of marital infidelity and force me to leave with nothing. In the face of undeniable evidence, even if I release the previous recordings and present the IOU written by Evan, they can still insist that I fabricated it. I was furious just hearing it. I knew Evan was scum, but I never imagined he would sink so low as to have no sense of shame. After all, I was his wife, sharing his bed for 3 years. To avoid giving me the money, he actually hired someone to harm me. It's infuriating. If only I had agreed to him that night, I could have taken advantage while he was asleep and cut off his manhood. Jovi said she wanted to call the police, but I stopped her. With Evan's connections, even if we reported this to the police, it would be useless, just like in the past life when Jovi's attempt to report it led nowhere. I picked up the wine bottle and tapped Jaden, who was trembling with fear. Jaden, how about you make $2 million? Jaden's eyes immediately lit up. That's too good to be true. You mean like being a double agent? Not bad, you've caught on pretty quickly. I nodded. Help me trick Evan into thinking I've fallen for it. Use our so-called dates as an excuse to squeeze money out of him. We'll split whatever you get 50-50, and I'll give you another $1 million afterward. I waved my phone. Don't try anything sneaky. I've got your confession on video. I may not be able to send Evan to jail, but I can send you behind bars with a single word. What are you saying? Jaden suddenly spoke with righteous indignation. How could I possibly have any issues with Dad? Right in front of me, Jaden sent a few photos of me lying in bed to Evan. To make the act complete, I hid at Jovi's house and didn't go out for the next few days. Meanwhile, Jaden, as regular as clockwork, would stand downstairs holding a bouquet of light and gaze up at the floor above. Finally, on a stormy night, I took an umbrella and went downstairs, bringing a thoroughly drenched Jaden back up with me. The next day, we set off for a trip to Europe together, with Jovi trailing behind us, wearing large sunglasses, of course. Jaden would report his whereabouts to Evan every day, sending photos and videos of us holding hands, while also asking Evan for travel funds on the side. Evan stingily handed over $500,000, telling us to go to places with fewer people and lower costs. The reason was that he was afraid we would draw too much attention and reveal my identity. At the project finalization stage, as Mrs. Evan, I can't afford any scandals. Fine, $500,000 is a bit on the low side, but it should be just enough to cover our expenses. In the blink of an eye, a month has passed, and the project collaboration plan has been finalized. I saw Evan's interview in the financial news, discussing the project. Just like that, the project was confirmed. When Evan called asking me to come back, the 3 of us were enjoying the sun, the beach, and chiseled abs on the island. Hearing that, we quickly packed up and headed home. In wealthy circles, apart from having a lot of money, there are also a lot of parties. And so, to celebrate the successful project collaboration, Evan threw a victory banquet. The attendees were all his relatives, friends, and close project partners. The moment they saw me, Evan's family and friends all looked at me with disgust, as if I were some kind of biohazard trash. In my past life, Evan married me despite his family's objections, and I felt guilty toward him, doing everything I could to fit into his family environment. Although I didn't have money, I had sincerity. I wanted to win them over with love and kindness, to make them accept me. When Evan's mother came down with a certain type of pneumonia, even the nanny avoided her, fearing infection. Only I, without resting or changing my clothes, stayed by her bedside to care for her until she recovered. But after she recovered, she just coldly said, "Clumsy, not even as good as the maid who cleans the toilet at home." At that time, I was so sad about it for a long time, constantly reflecting on whether I had done something wrong. But soon after, Evan's mom called and asked me to go take care of Evan's sick aunt. I happily agreed, thinking that this was their recognition and acceptance of me. Until I accidentally heard Evan's aunt talking to his mom on the phone. Just think of it as raising a well-behaved little dog. If Evan likes someone, he can just keep them on the side. Let's just keep this punching bag around, it's not like the family can't afford another mouth to feed. Dog, punching bag, just keeping around, mouth to feed. So in their eyes, I'm not even a person. No wonder they didn't object to me being with Evan later on, they only saw me as a pet. Fine, today I'll let you experience the power of a cute pet going wild. Serena came too, bringing gifts for everyone present. With me serving as the flawed counterpart, the well-matched Serena was naturally more welcomed by the elders. Evan's mother patted Serena a few times in an affected manner, scolding, "You heartless child, how could you bear to leave us and run off abroad alone? If you hadn't run away back then, your child with Evan would be 3 years old now." Serena deliberately shot me a panicked glance. "Auntie, please don't say that, it'll make Claire sad. What happened between Evan and me isn't anyone else's fault, it's just that Serena lacked the fortune. Seeing that brother Evan is doing well, Serena is content." Evan's mother glanced at me, and seeing me busy eating and drinking, she got even angrier. It's been 3 years, and her stomach still shows no signs of movement. Useless thing. Eat, 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 is that all you know? Were you starving in your past life? I hurriedly stuffed the last bite of cake into my mouth, grinning at her while spraying out bits of cake crumbs. Evan's mother immediately looked away, covering her mouth as if she'd seen something disgusting. Hee, I successfully grossed her out. The banquet started. After Evan gave his speech, he announced that a video about the project's future would be shown for everyone to envision the future together. I took the lead in applauding below. Serena sneered at me and said in a voice only the two of us could hear, "Claire, you're dead." As I expected, the project video was replaced. On the screen were photos of me disheveled, a picture of me bringing a man upstairs in the rain, and a video of me in a bikini playfully tussling with that man on the beach. The whole room was stunned. Evan was the first to snap back to reality, turning off the video and saying angrily, "Who was it? Who fabricated these photos to slander my wife? That bastard even had the nerve to downplay it before praising it." Soon, the professional team arrived. Upon inspection, those photos and videos were all unprocessed originals, meaning no one had framed me, I had actually cheated. Those who had been standing by my side immediately stepped back, keeping a distance of 3 meters from me, their expressions full of disdain. Evan clutched his chest, heartbroken as he questioned me. "Claire, I loved you so much, why did you betray me? Was I not good enough? Tell me, and I can change." What a perfect image of a deeply devoted yet domineering CEO. This way, whether he divorces or remarries, others will only feel sympathy for him and offer their blessings. All of this will become a boost to his career. I looked up at him, unable to imagine that beneath his seemingly fragile and helpless appearance, he harbored such malicious intentions. Suddenly, I remembered that rainy night 3 years ago. When he stood beneath my apartment building, pleading for me to be his girlfriend, his eyes were just as fragile and helpless. It was that moment that made me let my guard down, leading me to believe in him and in that cliché CEO romance novel, if only for once. It's a pity, but my kindness and soft-heartedness ultimately went to waste. Remembering my miserable death in my previous life, and the despair Jovi felt after being bullied with no way out, my heart turned completely cold. "Evan, get a grip, this woman isn't worth your devotion. Evan, divorce her, make her get out of our family. Someone from a poor mountain village like you getting to marry Evan is thanks to your ancestors' good deeds, and you dare to betray Evan? Watch me beat you to death." Evan's cousin jumped out and kicked towards me. Evan immediately held me, and that kick landed solidly on his back. This caused a huge uproar. Everyone thought it was a waste for Evan and cursed me as an ungrateful wretch, a calculating witch. Evan's mother was so furious that she yelled at Evan, calling him an idiot. Serena's eyes were red from crying. "Claire, Evan is so good to you, how could you bear to hurt him? Are you having an affair just to spite Evan because I came back? Evan and I grew up together, and he did help me out with something since I returned. But that's just a small favor among friends. There's nothing going on between Evan and me. If you hate me, Claire, then I'll leave right now. I just beg you to treat Evan well. I've already hurt him once, and I ask you not to hurt him again, okay?" Many people present were aware that Evan had once been in a relationship with Serena, and hearing Serena's words made them even more resentful toward me. Evan's cousin shouted, "Serena, if anyone should leave, it's her. You and Evan were meant to be together. If it weren't for that bitch blackmailing Evan, why would he have married her? Evan, divorce her. Our family will never accept such a lowlife with a tarnished character. My cousin's words resonated with the crowd, and everyone clamored for Evan to divorce me. Evan shielded me behind him, speaking in anguish, "Please don't harm Claire. The fault lies with me for how things have turned out today. Claire, I'm the one who wronged you. I never should have pressured you into marrying me. If freedom is what you truly desire, I'll let you go. Let's get divorced." Phew, I finally got my line out. Honestly, watching them perform was quite exhausting. I nodded calmly. "So, will the property still be divided with me? Claire, you cheated during the marriage and still want to split the assets? Are you dreaming?" My cousin exploded in anger. "Aunt, we absolutely cannot let such a woman take even a single cent from our family. Claire, we're sparing your miserable life, yet you still dare to ask for money," my cousin's brother chimed in with his own scolding. "I've really had enough of these two people. Ever since I married into this family, they've been targeting me as if I'm eating their rice. Are you too annoying or what? I'm dividing Evan's assets, what business is it of yours? What's up? Are you trying to be Evan's children and divide his property? Mind your own damn business. All you do is criticize this family and that family, who do you think you are?" I never expected I would talk back, making my cousins so angry they wanted to hit me. But Evan stood in front of me, shielding me from their blows. "Claire, I'll give you the money," Evan said with a weary expression. "5 million is enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life." I shook my finger. "No, 200 million, not a penny less." 200 million, everyone in the room gasped in shock. There's another round of cursing and scolding in the living room, but I don't care. After all, they're just repeating the same old lines, calling me greedy, materialistic, ungrateful, and so on. Talking to me about morality in the high society circle? That's laughable. The most unethical people in this world are those who hold assets, think they can manipulate the world, and control the lives of ordinary people. Evan, I'm asking you one last time, will you give me the 200 million? I asked with a serious expression. Evan turned his back to the others, his gaze pressing down on me from an angle they couldn't see. Claire, an affair during marriage, taking it to court, you've lost even the 5 million. Our eyes met, his expression brimming with confidence. All right. I applauded. Evan, your social demise package has been delivered, please check your messages. I throw the cup. The extinguished screen brightens once more. On the screen, Jaden, bound to a chair, confesses all the details of how Evan bribed him to drug me. Jaden cries like a rain-soaked pear blossom. I was originally a well-behaved gigolo, but Evan gave me $1 million to lead you on, in order to create evidence of your marital infidelity, so you'd leave empty-handed without a single cent. Wha, sister, please let me go. I heard that Evan relies on kidney-boosting pills to keep up. But I'm young, sister. Just say the word, and I can satisfy you right away. Following the video, the audio recording from the day I caught Evan and Serena was played. The recording clearly stated that Evan and Serena had gotten intimate first, then promised me 200 million to help him maintain his good man image, with plans to divorce after securing the project. Shinbao tablets made another appearance. Finally, the recording from when I went to him to write the IOU was played, and Shinbao tablets completely blew up. Such a reversal truly left everyone at the scene stunned, devouring this juicy gossip with wide eyes. Evan woke up from his dream and quickly ordered someone to turn off the screen. Hey, but his people were held back by the bodyguards Jovi had arranged in advance. Claire, how dare you set me up? Evan roared in anger. I shrugged and said innocently, Evan, I just wanted my 200 million back. It's a shame you had to bring this upon yourself. Just then, the banquet hall doors burst open. Evan's assistant rushed in, frantic and breathless. Evan, it's bad. Our company's stock just crashed. 5 of our partners have all announced they're cutting ties with us. Things have been rough for Evan lately. What happened at the banquet would have normally stayed within high society circles. Who knew that Serena, that ruthless person, would secretly arrange for someone to live stream the banquet in order to push me to the brink of death and make her rise to power even smoother? When it was broadcast that I had cheated and demanded 200 million, netizens blasted me to shreds, even digging up my ancestors who had never been seen before. Who could have expected the plot twist? Feeling deeply deceived, netizens immediately turned their guns and bombarded Evan. The incident quickly escalated, and several companies collaborating with Forthright Group immediately announced the termination of their partnerships. Forthright Group's stock price plummeted, and angry shareholders gathered in front of the Forthright Group building, holding banners and demanding answers. As for the internet, hashtags like Evan Kidney Tonic Pills, Is Evan Standing Tall Today, and Evan's Best Scheming Man of the Year topped the trending list for a full week. A film company took advantage of the momentum and released a short drama titled Evan's Villainous Wife, which earned over 100 million in revenue within 3 days of its release. As the biggest sponsor of this short drama, a certain kidney tonic pill company, its stock price skyrocketed. As for me, well, I'm just an ordinary film investor who only took home a few tens of millions in profit. 2 weeks later, due to a solid chain of evidence, the court ordered Evan to compensate me for the 200 million debt according to the IOU and pay me for emotional damages. When Evan came to see me, he didn't look well. Hey, the business world is ruthless. So many competitors are just waiting for Evan's family to fall, eager to take a bite out of them. Sure enough, we didn't even need to lift a finger, all those hidden pieces of evidence started surfacing one by one. Tax evasion, asset transfers, shady businesses. This is going to be a tough one for Evan to get through. Claire, I was wrong. Evan grabbed my hand, his gaze fragile and shattered. Only after you left did I realize I haven't liked Serena for a long time. It's you that I love. Give me another chance, come back to me, please? I sneered, do you like me, or do you like the $200 million in my hands? Evan's face froze. Evan, have you ever thought about it? If I hadn't been alert and seen through your plan, I would be the one at my wit's end right now. Would you help me? No, you would only toast with Serena, celebrating your perfect plan and love. So, why should I help you? What do you even count as? Evan stopped pretending, his eyes icy and furious. Claire, do you think having a bit of money can bring me down? I'll rise again and leave you with nowhere to bury your body. I wiped my hand, which he had touched, with a towel and said with a smile, we'll see. 1 month later, the Forthright Group was liquidated, and it said they could never recover from it. I once thought that a group like Forthright was indestructible, something mere mortals like me could only look up to. But in the face of the law, they're nothing. Serves them right. One day, when Jovi and I went to view a luxury mansion with a sprawling layout, from a distance, we could hear a man and a woman arguing loudly, their voices sounded like old acquaintances. Taking a closer look, hey, it really was. Serena was pulling her suitcase to leave, and Evan refused to let her. Evan pleaded, Serena, you said that no matter what, you would stay with me. Serena was very impatient, wake up, man. If I hadn't heard that you took power, I was doing just fine abroad. Why would I have come back? Evan gritted his teeth, what do you mean? Are you trying to break up because you see I'm out of money? Serena, it's all because of you that I've ended up like this today. Serena, obviously? Without the Forthright Group, what would I want with you? Honestly, it feels awful to have to pretend you're enjoying yourself when you're actually really unhappy. I have no idea how Claire has managed to endure this for the past 3 years. Serena, you bitch. Evan slapped Serena. The two of them started pulling and fighting. Seeing that the situation was getting out of hand, I quickly opened the video app and started a live stream. Jovi was considerate enough to wait for the property security guards and the netizens to get their fill before separating them. Serena, with her messy hair, just wanted to run away. She even forgot about our hostile relationship and, seeing me, ran over as if spotting a savior, saying to me, 200 million, that's what you deserve. This is too humiliating, just too humiliating. I never want to see that kidney tonic again for the rest of my life. Fine, considering her mental state is quite advanced, I'll forgive her. Evan had a bruised face, but when he saw me, he wore an arrogant expression. Claire, what are you doing here? Unless you beg me, I won't make up with you. Jovi rolled her eyes at him and pushed him aside. We're here to buy a house, please move aside. The property guy smiled awkwardly. Evan, it's these two ladies who are buying this large flat. Eventually, Evan had no choice but to sell the luxury apartment he shared with Serena, or else he would have had to pay me a penalty for breach of contract. Come to think of it, the money he used to buy that luxury apartment came from our marital assets. Oh well, let's just consider it as aiding the less fortunate. Besides, I'm not short on cash these days. As he signed the contract, Evan gritted his teeth and told me, I will definitely make a comeback. I nodded as if crushing something to pieces. Next time, you'll die even more miserably. I didn't bother to find out what happened to Evan later on. I heard he ended up becoming a son-in-law by selling his looks. After tasting the sweetness of short dramas, I simply invested in making them and became a small boss with Jovi, earning money like a breeze. After being detained for 15 days, Jaden came to me, saying he wanted to be the male lead in a short drama, but I refused. Jaden, the entertainment industry isn't a trash can where any kind of scum can be dumped. If even you can be an idol, what kind of example does that set for the audience? If everyone could earn $208 a day, how could we ever live up to those who work hard on the front lines? Jaden sobbed bitterly, swearing he would never be a gigolo again or engage in shady dealings for money. I expressed my gratification and gave him $1 million, which I had promised him earlier. I am a person of my word. As soon as he got the money, he stopped crying, but he walked slowly, looking back every step of the way. Finally, just as he was about to step over the threshold, he asked me, Sister, don't you always need a man by your side to keep you warm? I looked out the window at Jovi, who was on the phone discussing a project. Her smile was brighter and warmer than the spring sunshine in March. I gave a soft laugh. Since when are men considered a necessity? They're just icing on the cake, like toys to play with. Half a year later, the Forthright Group officially announced bankruptcy and initiated liquidation. The Forthright Group building, which once stood tall in the city center as a symbol of power, was sealed by the court, with caution tape pulled across the entrance. Evan, once a man of great splendor, now stood disheveled in a crumpled suit with a stubbled face, besieged by creditors and former employees at the entrance of the building, looking utterly wretched. Claire and Jovi pulled up slowly in a newly acquired Maybach across from the building. Rolling down the window, Claire, wearing sunglasses, lazily waved the coffee in her hand. Well, Evan, what a coincidence. Her voice was soft but just loud enough for the surrounding crowd to hear. The crowd automatically parted to make way, everyone gazing with mixed emotions at this woman who had once been treated as a Cinderella joke by Evan's family but had now become one of the largest creditors of the Forthright Group. The court's ruling of $200 million in compensation, combined with penalty fees, emotional damages, and division of marital assets, had swelled the total amount to $300 million. Even if Evan's family goes bankrupt, they still can't fill this hole. Evan looked up and saw Jovi next to Claire holding up a phone, live streaming with comments flying across the screen. The Kidney Vitality Pill spokesperson is confirmed. Are you pumped up today? Evan, we need season 2 of The Villain's Wife short drama. Evan's face turned ashen as he gritted his teeth and pushed through the crowd, trying to rush over and argue, but he was politely yet firmly stopped by 2 court police officers. Evan, you are currently under a consumption restriction order. Please cooperate. Claire chuckled softly and tossed an exquisitely packaged box of health supplements from the car, which landed right at Evan's feet. A gift for you, the latest model, no need for kidney-boosting pills to stay upright. I hear you've been quite in need lately. The onlookers burst into laughter. Evan bent down to pick it up but froze in his tracks. At that moment, he finally broke down completely, his eyes red as he roared, Claire Sue. Do you have to push me to the brink? Claire took off her sunglasses, her gaze cold as a blade. Push you to the brink? No, I'm just taking back what belongs to me. When you handed me that $1 million check back then, did you ever consider that I might die on the road delivering takeout? When you had someone drug me and fabricate evidence of my affair, did you ever think I'd be left with nothing and completely helpless? When you framed Jovi for losing her virtue and forced her to go to jail, did you ever think this day would come? With every word she spoke, Evan's face grew paler. So, this isn't called ruthless elimination, it's called karma. Jovi added beside her, by the way, where is Serena? Didn't you say you would never leave each other? As soon as she finished speaking, a taxi screeched to a halt by the roadside. Serena Lynn rushed out with her suitcase. She threw her arms around Evan's arm, weeping like a rain-soaked pear blossom. Evan, I heard you were in trouble, so I flew back from overseas immediately. Let's make a comeback together, okay? The barrage of comments exploded instantly. Unbelievable, can this green tea act any more fake? Wasn't she just complaining about him having no money and running away a moment ago? Word has it that the forthright group's remaining assets still hold some value, so she came back sniffing for opportunities. Looking at Serena's face, which felt both familiar and strange, Evan suddenly seemed to age 10 years. He shook off her hand, his voice hoarse, "Get lost. All of you, get lost." Serena's expression changed, and she was about to lash out when several creditors, growing impatient, closed in. "Evan, time to settle the IOUs, isn't it? Otherwise, we'll have to take legal action." Claire didn't continue watching the commotion. She rolled up the car window and said to the driver, "Let's go. Let's check out the island we just bought." Yes, that island, originally intended by the Fu family for a private resort, now has its ownership listed under Claire Sue and Jovi Young. As the car drove away, Claire saw Evan in the rearview mirror kneeling on the ground, clutching his head, looking like a lost dog. Jovi excitedly shook her arm, saying, "Claire, I've finished the script for the 3rd season of the short drama. It's titled Evan's Life as a Dependent Husband. The male lead ends up with a female CEO 10 times richer than him, faces constant mockery and contempt, and eventually lives to regret it deeply." Claire laughed and pinched her face. "Sure, but we need to add an Easter egg. Have Jaden cameo as an extra, getting kicked aside by the female lead, with the caption, 'Some trash has no recycling value at all.'" 1 year later, Claire and Jovi's company went public, with its market value surpassing $100 billion. Their investment in the Villainous Wife series of short dramas went viral worldwide, spawning spin-off variety shows, merchandise, and even a theme park, becoming a phenomenal IP. As for Evan, he was said to have actually become a live-in son-in-law for some wealthy woman, staying home every day to take care of the children, cook, and do laundry. Occasionally, he would be photographed by paparazzi while grocery shopping, and the trending search titles were always "Former overbearing CEO, now a stay-at-home husband and successful transformation from kidney tonic spokesperson." At the victory banquet, when asked about her ex-husband, Claire raised her glass and smiled brightly and boldly. "Him? He's fine. At least now, someone finally has the nerve to ask him for money." The entire audience burst into laughter and erupted into thunderous applause. Then she turned around and embraced Jovi, whispering under the fireworks, "Jovi, Happy New Year. In this lifetime, we live only for ourselves."